What's going on, YouTube? I'm back at it. Well, spent a lot of time over the weekend trying to learn how to do this stuff because all I know how to do is video record it and post it. I don't know how to edit it, do none of that, but spoke with my cousin today. He helped me out with that, and they already look better, so I'm pretty happy with that. But just wanted to touch base, tell you a little bit more about the story, and that's it, man. So my depression was feeling helpless and not in control of my thoughts. I had no sense of enjoyment in anything other than drugs. But it didn't start out like that. My first time doing heroin, I was like 18. But my adventures into drugs were well before that. I didn't realize it was starting because hanging with friends and drinking was the cool thing to do, Smoke a little pot, get the munchies. Just normal kid stuff, I guess. But I wanted to be in that crowd and party. I thought that was awesome. I started off occasionally drinking on the weekends, and it evolved into every weekend, and then every day. I was also really mean when I drank. I would drink and would always be the guy that was getting crazy and wanted to fight somebody. I had a lot of aggression and anger issues. I feel like there were a few things that played into it, but that was the beginning to the end. Both my parents have addictive personalities. My mother was an alcoholic prior to kids. My father battles his fair share of demons. It was a recipe for disaster is what it was. I realized that I didn't party like everybody else. You know, 5 minutes into any party, I already chugged 3 beers and was 2 shots in. I was already shit-faced 15 minutes into the party, because I just wanted to drown myself. So, I was rowdy, I was rude, I was acting a fool. It wasn't long before nobody wanted me at their parties. They just didn't want me there. I was just a lost kid, doing all the wrong shit to fit in. I mentioned this before that I was bullied when I was a kid. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was such an angry child. I felt like I was helpless, and it was one of the reasons why I was such an angry kid. I couldn't defend myself when I was young. But when junior high and high school rolled around, that's when I started getting a little more active. Like a growth spurt, I turned out to be a really tough kid. So I wasn't going to let anybody bully me anymore. Once I got into a fight and actually beat somebody up and got the recognition that I did, it felt really good. I felt like I redeemed myself. I know now that's not the right thing. But I mean, shit happens. Shit happens. I took it too far though, and I wasn't invited anywhere anymore. So I started hanging out with the other knuckleheads that were into the club scene and snorting coke, eating ecstasy and shit. Made me feel good. I was no longer scared to speak with people. I all of a sudden had a personality, and I wasn't shy. But that snowballed fast, and doing coke was no longer a Friday, Saturday thing. I wanted it every second of every day. I was 16 years old, driving over to 5th Street in Fall River to pick up drugs. Jesus. As soon as you walked into that place, 20 people came over to serve you. And you could have got whatever you wanted. Except for what I was looking for, and that was powder. So powder is just the powdered form of cocaine. Once I realized I couldn't get that, I took the next best thing in my eyes at that time, and it was freebase, which was cooked cocaine, stuff that you can smoke. And it was rough. It was rough. I was a frequent customer at all the pawn shops in Fall River. Whatever I could find, I was pawning to get a 20 rock, to get something, anything to take my mind off the situations. You know, it was a good feeling until the drugs would go on and the anxiety would kick in, wondering how I could get more. And this was part of my life for about 2 years. I started getting more familiar with the people that used drugs and was around people that were using heroin. And I initially didn't do it at first. I know what it did to my father. I wasn't interested. I just liked coke. You know. But I hated how I felt when I was done. When it ran out, the anxiety and the shitty feeling that you would get. One of my buddies was doing coke with me all night. And he had dope, heroin, you know. He did it after he was done with the coke and we ran out of money. And I was still miserable in the corner and he was like tired and ready to go to bed. I'm like, what the hell? I'm over here miserable and he's ready to fall asleep. It's pretty nuts. So I eventually ended up doing it because I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And after I was done doing the coke, I just wanted to come down. But that went downhill. I sniffed a bag, I came down completely. I didn't feel anxious. I actually felt really good, and it would stop my mind from racing and wondering how I could get a little more money. I didn't realize that was going to be the next 10 years of my life. I sniffed it only once and went directly to the needle. I no longer cared about coke because I liked the heroin and how it made me feel. Every time I did that drug, I felt like I was outgoing. I had the gift of gab. My anxiety was gone. It was like I felt like it was the cure-all. Little did I know it was slowly latching onto me and it wasn't going to let me go. At that point in my life, I had things. I had a job, I had a car that my mother got me with the help of my aunt. I had a lot of things going for me, and I threw it all away. I no longer had any care for anything other than drugs. I couldn't afford my car anymore. My work was starting to catch on to my unusual behaviors. I caught myself lying about everything. It was all just a downward spiral. At one of the jobs I was working, I told my boss some bullshit story on how one of my family members was going to help me buy a car. So I told him I needed the truck. And he let me use it. And what I needed the truck was to go pick up some drugs because I was dope sick. I went and got 3 bags out in Fall River. I didn't want to wait to do it, so I stopped at a Chinese restaurant. I used the bathroom. I remember doing it. I remember coming out. I remember seeing that they were doing work on the side of the building. I walked to the truck, and I don't remember anything else after that. I overdosed, okay? And if it wasn't for my good friend that I still speak with to this day, I'd probably be dead. The other kid that I was with was going to leave me for dead. He just wanted to go get high. I'm just grateful that my buddy was there. I found out a couple of years back that the kid that was going to leave me there ended up overdosing and dying. And he's not here today to speak about it. So I dodged a bullet. I dodged a lot of bullets. But I recently reached out to the police officer that saved my life and told him that I appreciate what he did for me. Even though that's his job, it's still appreciative, that's for sure. But at that time, I was still caught up. The truck got towed. My boss found out. But I was fired, you know. But right after I overdosed, they brought me to the hospital. And the insanity of this whole story is that I was in the hospital and I must have fell asleep on the ride there, but they woke me back up when I got there. And I remember not being up for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I was already freaking out. I was ripping stuff out of my arms. I told them I wanted to sign out. I didn't want to be there anymore. And they signed me out. I had nothing but a Johnny on. They cut everything else off. My ass was hanging out the back of the Johnny, and I ran from Fall River to Swansea with a Johnny on, like a psycho. It's kind of cold out here. Jeez Louise. Yeah, so I ran from the hospital all the way to Swansea over the bridge with a Johnny on. I got a ride from the exit going into Somerset, which is crazy. And this whole reason why I left the hospital is because the kid that saved me had 2 bags of mine that I knew that he took out of my pocket, because I knew that the police told me that there was nothing that they found on me. So I assumed that he took it, and that's all that was going through my mind, was that I had 2 bags and I wanted them. Not thank you for saving my life, not anything other than I want my 2 bags. Talk about insanity. That's insanity. That is crazy. That I was looking death in the eye, and I was worried about 2 more bags of heroin. Insane. Insane. I mean, but so I'm gonna make this a 3-part series. I got a lot more to talk about, but I just want to keep you guys interested. I want you guys to keep watching and liking my stories, and you know, I really want to talk to people, and you know, I set up a Discord, so if somebody has a story, like a good story where they changed their life, I want to hear it, man. I want to hear it. You know, you don't got to be shy. You know, there's a stigma with this drug addiction, and it's making people run from recovery, you know, and it feels a lot better to get your story out. It feels better for me, you know, it feels better when I get to talk and let people hear my story. And if they can, even if one person can get changed by it, I did my job, man. I did my job. You know, I feel like this is the right thing to do. You know, I got the support from my family. I got the support from my immediate family and my mother and my other family. You know, we're all one big family, but they're all rooting for me. I appreciate this, and I appreciate them. I appreciate everybody. And I want to ask a question. I want you to leave an answer in the description. What's been the toughest thing that you've had to go through? What's one of the things that was a breaking point for you? I want to know. I want to hear. So comment down below. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.